How did you manage to buck the trend here? What is it that Shopify is doing that everyone else ain't?
Thanks for having me, Emily. We are happy with how things came out. I think the big thing that the big takeaway is that the role that Shopify is playing in the lives of the millions of merchants is just not of a typical software company. One of the things that I mentioned on the call quite a bit was this merchant services attach rate, and that is really the amount of services and value that we create for merchants. And I think the big difference here is we're not just the e-commerce provider anymore. We're the retail partner for physical retail. We're their capital partner. We've given out now more than $4 billion of cash advances and loans to our merchants. We're their logistics partner. And with audiences, Shopify audiences, we're now their advertising partner in some cases too. And so we saw a 2.14% merchant solutions attach rate in Q3. That's up from 1.98 in Q2. So that was really good. On the revenue side, revenue came in 1.4 billion. That's up 22% year on year. And on a 3-year CAGR, it's up 52%. But I also think what the street and investors wanted to see was operating discipline. And we saw adjusted gross profit of over $680 million. That's up 11% and a 3-year CAGR of 46%. So when they see that plus year-on-year declining operating expense growth and $5 billion of cash in the balance sheet, I think they see that Shopify is a long-term durable company.
Investors are looking at this as potentially a sign that Shopify's worst days are behind it, quote unquote. It's been a tough year. You've had job cuts. It's a very tough retail environment. Inflation is weighing on everyone. Would you agree with that? Is the worst over?
Look, I think Shopify was this incredible COVID, story. March 2020, physical retail shuts down permanently, and all these physical retailers needed to move online, and most of them did so with Shopify. I think what most people missed was that the trust we built in the COVID period meant that now that stores are reopening, physical stores are reopening, they're now using us to replace their existing point of sale systems as well. So that's one issue. The second issue is that, talking about sort of the macro trend of the consumer, this idea of omni-channel, I've talked about this on your show before, this is now steady state. The best brands, the most modern brands, they need to sell everywhere, online, offline, on social media, on marketplaces, and doing so with a retail operating system like Shopify gives them the tools to do so. So I don't know what's going to happen in terms of the larger economy in the future, but certainly, September was a good month from a consumer spend. It looks like October was pretty good too. But our merchants, the millions of merchants on Shopify, are getting set up for a good holiday season, and we want to be there to support them on that.
Investors were not happy with Amazon's results. Their holiday forecast was not great. What's your read on that and what it also could bode for Shopify?
I mean, we're certainly dealing with an inflationary economy right now. There's no doubt about that. What I think is certain is that the direct-to-consumer business model, where brands manufacture and sell direct to the consumer, where there are no intermediaries, there is more margin there. There is more room for inflation. And so I actually think that a direct-to-consumer model operates better in this environment than, say, a third-party reseller might, who's already operating on razor-thin margins. But so far, I mean, you look at companies just this quarter, Glossier, for example, or Spanx, for example, or Alo Yoga, or Viore, for example. Like these brands on Shopify are doing really, really well. And so, we think the consumer remains strong, but we'll see what the holiday season comes from. Most important thing, though, is that we're there to support them no matter what they want to do.
You had me at Viore, Harley. Love it.
Great brand.
Still buying.
Great brand. Great story.
Let's talk about your logistics and fulfillment network. Obviously, you've been developing that. Where does development stand now, and what are your ambitions there when it comes to investing and potential acquisitions?
Yeah, we've made a lot of progress there. I mean, the goal is to build an end-to-end logistics network. So from the second your product is made at the factory to when your consumer gets it, we want to handle that for all of our merchants. The key, though, is that we want to make it so that when you use Shopify Fulfillment Network, when you use our logistics product, you don't have to think about logistics. But the key here is something that I mentioned on the earnings call today. It's called Shop Promise. This idea that when you use our fulfillment product, you can provide an anticipated delivery date with certainty to your consumer. In early testing of Shop Promise, we know that consumers will spend more, they will convert higher when they know when to anticipate it. So we're not trying to build out what Amazon did, this like one-day free shipping thing. What we're trying to do is make it so that our merchants, one, don't have to think about logistics. It's not a problem for them. We'll take care of it. And second, that they can provide an anticipation of when the product will get into the hands of consumers. And we made a lot of progress there. So when that, we've disclosed a partnership that we have with Flexport on that first phase from factory to port. From port to fulfillment, we acquired a company called Deliver that does balancing better than, frankly, anyone on the planet. And that third phase, from the fulfillment center to the end consumer, that's really where Shopify Fulfillment Network really ramps up. And we have partners, all over the U.S. right now that are using our software, our robotics technology from Six River System, and we are creating this logistics network. And we've made a lot of progress. We'll continue to do so. But the key really is the Shop Promise, to give everyone, every small business, the same tools that, frankly, Amazon has with things like Amazon Prime, and we think we can do that.
That said, in-person shopping is back, and I can imagine back even bigger this holiday season. How is Shopify prepared to adapt to that, and what are you planning for?
Yeah, so you're 100% correct. It is back. It went away obviously during the pandemic, but we always believe the future retail is going to be retail everywhere. It'll be about consumer choice. The consumer may want to buy online or offline, or on Instagram or Snap or TikTok, or in person. So those are the tools that we've been building. What you saw in this past quarter was we saw a 35% increase year on year of GMV on point of sale. At the same time, we're seeing larger merchants replace their entire point of sale systems with Shopify, whether it's Alo Yoga or it's James Purse, my favorite brand. But also this quarter alone, eight retailers with more than 25 locations replaced their existing traditional point of sale systems with Shopify. We actually had one merchant of ours who replaced us in 175 locations. So we really are scaling up around Shopify. We call Point of Sale Pro, to help larger retailers with lots of stores really replace and modernize their in-store experience. But the idea is this: if you are a consumer and you buy something online and then you go into a store a week later, they should have the same information. It's one set of information, one set of customer data, one set of inventory. The idea of omni-channel, I think, is going to become like talking about the color TV in a few years from now. You don't say color TV because every TV is fundamentally color TV. That's what omni-channel will be. The best retailers that are most successful will be omni-channel by default in the future.